In a dimly lit office corner, surrounded by the dull hum of computers, a figure often sits alone. They are not ignored because they lack ability. In fact, their competence is unmatched. Yet every day, they grapple with an undercurrent of hostility from those who seem intent on keeping them isolated. They absorb the silent sneers and whispered criticisms as naturally as breathing. It's a workplace dynamic never spoken aloud but painfully etched into each moment. Here, the central question emerges starkly against the sanitized backdrop of corporate civility. What drives individuals to alienate another, claiming it's for their own good, while staying comfortably in the light themselves? We turn to the stories of countless professionals who have found themselves unwittingly cast into the shadows by those promising light. Strategies disguised as tough love often mask an unsettling truth, an expectation for the betterment of one through the hardship and discomfort orchestrated by another. A young entrepreneur recounts being thrust into a high-stakes project by a mentor who preached the virtues of learning the hard way. Despite the proclaimed good intentions, the pressure was punishing, leaving little room for genuine growth. Another employee describes how they were ostracized under the guise of psychological resilience training. Claims of necessary character building felt more like systematic dignity stripping. This is not isolated. These are tales that echo through the cubicles and breakout rooms of many institutions. Partners in this narrative often express a singular vision, that adversities, carefully constructed, will produce diamonds. Yet these carefully constructed trials more often breed only disillusionment and resentment. There's evidence found within corporate environments. Those forced into self-doubt often stumble, their initial spark smothered by imposed darkness. Performance reviews become testimonies not solely of capability, but of survival against manufactured adversity. It's a contradiction held delicately together by authoritative traditions stretching back generations, embedded within the mythology of business leadership. This paradoxical cruelty, issuing hardship in the name of benevolence, acts as a cultural blind spot. It allows toxic behavioral patterns to persist under the veil of mentorship. It's a narrative fiercely protected by those who benefit from power imbalances inherent in the workplace. What about the shadow figures, the ones on the periphery, shunned, or made to navigate these complex mazes alone? Their narratives suggest that these experiences are not only manipulative but agonizing, leaving marks far deeper than most realize. Indeed, some never truly step back into the sunlight, forever altered by these enforced relegations into obscurity. Then a shift occurs, sobering in its revelation. It's a moment where reflection unveils that forced adversity often serves an altogether different master. The facade of benevolence crumbles under scrutiny, revealing an unsettling self-serving motivation from those who claim to mold and shape better futures for others. It becomes evident that such practices do not truly arise from a noble intent to enhance another's capability. Rather, they mask the insecurities and fears of those who lead from behind an armor of practiced rhetoric. This realization upends the comfortable notion that tough experiences forced by others build durable character. Instead, it suggests a far more complex dynamic, one where the enforced darkness serves to consolidate the existing power structures, offering the illusion of progress while reinforcing the divide. The more these acts are examined, the clearer it becomes. The projection of one's shadows onto others is less about growth and more about self-preservation by those in the light. Consider this unsettling consequence. Every action and every shadow cast does not vanish without trace. The echoes of such cruelty are enduring, often bouncing back in unforeseen ways. It's been shown that the human heart has a remarkable capacity for adapting to the dark, yet this adaptation comes with one undeniable turn. Regret finds its way back, often when least expected. In many industries, this boomerang effect sees a reversal. Those who once projected authority find themselves isolated by the very mechanisms they endorsed. Forgiveness is a path that's often touted, yet few are the ones who truthfully and openly seek it. It requires courage, vulnerability, and sometimes an entire rethinking of one's place within a professional narrative. The perpetrator is often faced with a stark choice: to confront their past or to deny it entirely. In a paradigm where strength is often equated with infallibility, choosing the path of redemption is an anomaly. In the end, those who inflicted harm upon others in the mistaken guise of mentorship do not simply get away unscathed, not from any overreaching spiritual justice, but from the visceral, organic feedback of having to deal with real consequences, not the least of which is the devastation of discovering their own self-worth tied into actions they can no longer defend. They confront shadows of their own creation, dreamed into existence not by necessity, but choice. Thus, even in structures where cruelty is seldom acknowledged, it becomes undeniable that its repercussions are not limited to its victims. As the light fades and the shadows lengthen, a telling question surfaces. Is it not then the light-bearer's very own shadow that paints their reality? The scene closes in on this daunting introspection, where we see a circle resetting, lessons learned needing application. The real question left hanging: how do you move forward in a system thriving on contradictions? Each viewer, now momentarily the keeper of this wisdom, leaves with an inescapable query. What part do they play in a narrative that's redefined not just by power, but by the courage to bring one's shadows into the light, not through another's suffering, but through genuine, shared understanding? Here, as the screen fades, it's not a summary that is needed. It's a reminder. Change doesn't stem from merely seeing shadows. It begins by choosing how one casts them. And with that, the darkness retreats, leaving a resonant silhouette etched in the mind's eye. A silhouette not just of accountability and consequence, but of hope of transformation against what once seemed an immutable shadow. The journey into the heart of these complex shadows begins with the stories of individuals who dared to challenge the status quo. Each narrative, while unique, echoes a universal struggle, the tension between systemic inertia and personal agency. The documentary takes us to the bustling streets of Santiago, where Rosa Martinez, a community organizer, spearheads local initiatives to address economic disparities that are often concealed within broader global dialogues of change. Rosa's grassroots efforts reveal startling insights. Systems thrive on complacency, but they can be tipped toward justice when informed by the lived experiences of those directly impacted. Her story is woven with the tale of Aaron, a tech innovator in Berlin, who uses digital platforms to democratize access to educational resources, rendering once distant possibilities, like higher education, within reach for marginalized communities. Aaron's work dismantles barriers, redefining education not as an exclusive privilege, but as an inherent right. Meanwhile, in Lagos, a coalition of artists uses evocative performance to challenge narratives imposed by external forces, reclaiming cultural identity and celebrating the nuances of individual stories often lost in monolithic portrayals. Collectively, these vignettes underscore a formidable truth. Transformation is neither instantaneous nor solitary. It requires a mosaic of efforts, local, personal, and collaborative, each contributing to a larger, evolving picture. Interwoven with these stories is a backdrop of environmental restoration projects led by indigenous groups in the Amazon, whose traditional knowledge proves invaluable in combating global climate change. Their voices remind us of another essential fact. Solutions lie not in silencing or eradicating differing perspectives, but in synthesizing them. As these testimonies unfold, the documentary crafts an intricate tapestry where past meets future, creating a dynamic space that allows for shadows of history to morph into enlightened pathways for collective advancement. Thus, viewers are left contemplating their role, how their individual actions might ripple outward, reshaping not just their immediate surroundings, but the extensive, interconnected world beyond.